Question number 5, the Honourable Judith Collins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, does he stand by all his statements and actions in the House?
The Honourable Phil Twyford.
Yes, except on the rare occasion where I misspoke. I particularly stand by my statement following the Leader of the Opposition's budget reply speech that I'm going to call it the biggest winner of Budget 2018 was Judith Collins' leadership ambitions.
Order. I'm now going to warn the member. He is developing, along with one or two other ministers, the habit of putting additions on answers after he has answered the question. Like questions, they should be succinct answers, and once a question's been answered, the member doesn't need to add to it, especially in a way that's likely to lead to disorder or discomfort in the House. The Honourable Judith Collins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. So what changed since his statement regarding KiwiBuild yesterday, that the government is, quote, not planning on bringing workers in from overseas, quote, to the government today announcing that they will be doing exactly that?
Nothing changed. I was simply reacting to the absurd suggestion that the whole workforce for KiwiBuild would be imported from overseas. Our policy, this government's policy, has always been that to respond to the legacy of 9 years of underinvestment in the construction industry workforce, we would not only invest in growing the local workforce, but we would bring in skilled tradespeople from overseas, just as the former government did after the earthquakes in Christchurch.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Before he told Parliament yesterday that the government is, quote, not planning on bringing workers in from overseas, end quote, what discussions had he had with the Honourable Gerry, the Minister of Building and Construction, about bringing in 1,500 KiwiBuild visa workers from overseas to build KiwiBuild houses?
The member's continual fake surprise at this government announcing and rolling out long-established policy won't cut any ice with thousands of Kiwi home buyers who are denied the opportunity to have home ownership for 9 long years under that government. It's never been our policy to import wholesale the workforce from overseas. It has always been to grow the New Zealand workforce here in a way that the former government never bothered to do.
Point of order.
A point of order, the Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr Speaker, I asked about discussions that the Minister had with the Honourable Gerry. I don't believe that he addressed that issue.
No, he didn't. He will answer now.
I've had many discussions with the Honourable Gerry.
Were they memorable?
Point of order. Point of order, Mr Speaker. To assist the Minister, I seek leave to table a briefing from the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment from December 2017 titled KiwiBuild Visa Settings.
Is there any objection to that? There appears to be none. It will be tabled.
Supplementary. When he told Parliament yesterday that he, quote, met with a director and president of another organisation who were acting as intermediaries for the China Development Bank, end quote, what was that organisation?
I was asked to do this meeting by the member's former colleague, Marama Fox, to meet with these officials who are intermediaries of the China Development Bank. I meet with many banks, but I can also confirm that I have never dined with a Chinese border official.
Point
Order.
Of order. Yep.
The member will now answer the question.
I don't recall the name of the organisation of the officials I met with, but if the Minister wants to put a written question down or a primary, I will gladly get that information for her.
At this meeting on the 31st... I'm sorry.
A point of order, the Honourable Gerry.
Apologies to my colleague, but Mr Speaker, I'd ask you to reflect on that last answer. When the Minister came in the earlier question said that he had been mistaken about this. He must have done some research to find out what the mistake was. You hardly find out that you've made a mistake if you don't know what the mistake or who the mistake was about. Therefore, he has not given an answer to the House.
And I've got a lot of sympathy for the member and his point of order. Unfortunately, I don't have responsibility for the quality of the answers. The Honourable Judith Collins.
At this meeting on the 31st of May that the Minister now tells us he doesn't recall who the intermediaries were, who else was at that meeting?
I reject the member's assertion that's not actually what I said.
Well, who was at the meeting?
I met with a gentleman by the name of Anthony Wilson. The answer to the question before was that I didn't remember the name of the organisation. I believe the man is a consultant.
Question number 6, Paul Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the